In the Taisho era, the demon king Muzan Kibutsuji faced something that shattered his immortal existence forever. It wasn't a breathing technique, it wasn't a red blade, it was a man who could end everything with one punch. What if the strongest hero in anime history was born 400 years too early? What if instead of heroes and monsters, Saitama faced demons and blood arts? What if the man who broke his limiter became the demon slayer who broke the entire demon race? This is the story of how the Age of Demons ended not with sun breathing, but with overwhelming, absolute, boring strength. And how the greatest demon slayer in history was also the most disappointed one. Because when you can kill any demon with one punch, even the Demon King becomes just another grocery store sale you missed. In the original timeline, Yoriichi Tsugikuni was born as the Chosen One, the man who could see through souls, move faster than lightning, and wield the sun itself as a weapon. He nearly killed Muzan Kibutsuji in their first encounter. Nearly. But Muzan escaped, lived for 4 more centuries, and created thousands of demons who terrorized humanity. For generations, the Demon Slayer Corps fought and died. Heroes like Tanjiro, Rangoku, and Hashira gave everything they had just to protect innocent people from creatures that should never have existed. But across the infinite multiverse, fate doesn't always play favorites. Sometimes the wrong soul gets placed in the right body. Sometimes a man who trained so hard he broke the laws of physics gets born into a world where those laws were already broken. And sometimes, just sometimes, the multiverse creates a timeline where the most overpowered hero meets the most overpowered demons. This is that timeline. Born as Yoriichi Tsugikuni, this version of Saitama possessed the same transparent world abilities and natural talent, but there was one crucial difference. While the original Yoriichi was content with his God-given gifts, Saitama wasn't satisfied. He looked at his incredible natural strength and thought the same thing he always did. This isn't enough. I need to get stronger. So he began his training, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every single day, even with a body that could already see through souls. The other demon slayers thought he was insane. Why would someone already blessed by the gods push themselves beyond human limits? But Saitama didn't care about their opinions. He had a routine, and nothing would break it. Not demons, not destiny, not even divine intervention. 3 years later, when his hair finally fell out completely, something unprecedented happened. The man who was already the strongest demon slayer became something that transcended the very concept of strength itself. He had broken his limiter in a world where limiters weren't supposed to exist. The first sign something was wrong came during routine training. Saitama lightly tapped a practice dummy and it didn't just break. It vaporized into particles so small they became invisible. His fellow demon slayers began to fear him. This wasn't sun breathing or water breathing. This was something that shouldn't exist in their world. For the first time in any timeline, Saitama felt truly alone. At least in his original world, there were other heroes. Here, he was something that didn't belong. When demons heard about the strange new demon slayer, they laughed. Another human with a sword? Another breathing technique user? How hard could it be? The first demon to encounter Saitama rushed forward with typical demon arrogance, ready to feast on human flesh. It died so quickly that Saitama wasn't sure it had been a real fight. There was no technique, no breathing form, no dramatic battle. Just one punch and empty space. Word spread quickly through the villages. There was a demon slayer who could end any demon instantly. People called him a miracle, a gift from the gods. But Saitama felt nothing. No satisfaction, no pride, no sense of accomplishment. Just the same hollow feeling he'd known all his life. He had hoped that demons would be different from monsters, that maybe, just maybe, he'd finally find a worthy opponent in this world of supernatural beings. He was wrong. News of the impossible demon slayer reached Muzan's ears within weeks. His spies described something that defied everything he understood about humans. Muzan laughed. One human, no matter how strong, couldn't threaten the king of demons. He had faced Yoriichi before and survived. This would be no different. He summoned his upper moons for an emergency meeting. Kokushibo, Doma, Akaza, the gorgeous demons in existence, each capable of destroying entire cities. Their mission was simple. Find this anomaly and destroy him before he could interfere with demonkind's dominion over humanity. Meanwhile, Saitama was trying to figure out if ancient Japan had sales on vegetables. The fate of all demons hung in the balance, and he was worried about his grocery budget. Akaza found him first. The Upper Moon 3, who lived for combat, sensed incredible power emanating from the bald demon slayer. For the first time in centuries, Akaza felt genuine excitement. This human might actually provide the fight he'd been searching for. Saitama looked at the demon with the same enthusiasm he'd show a mosquito, another obstacle between him and dinner. What happened next would send shockwaves through the demon world and change the course of history forever. Because when an unstoppable force meets an infinitely breakable object, there's only one possible outcome. Akaza circled Saitama like a predator, his fighting instincts analyzing every muscle, every stance, every breath. This human felt different, dangerous, but Akaza had never backed down from a challenge. "You're not like the others," Akaza growled. "I can sense it. You have the soul of a warrior." Saitama looked at him with the same expression he'd used to read a grocery list. "Look, I just want to buy some cabbage before the market closes. Can we make this quick?" The dismissal ignited something primal in Akaza. No human had ever treated him like a minor inconvenience. Not even Yoriichi had been this casual. Akaza launched into his full arsenal. Destructive death air type sent shockwaves that could shatter mountains. His leg type techniques moved faster than lightning itself. The needle compass locked onto Saitama's battle spirit, predicting every possible counterattack. The ground exploded, trees vaporized. The very air caught fire from the intensity of Akaza's assault. Any normal demon slayer would have been reduced to atoms in the first second. Saitama stood in the center of the maelstrom, letting hurricane force attacks wash over him like a gentle summer breeze. He didn't even bother to move his feet. When the smoke cleared, Saitama stood exactly where he'd been. His uniform wasn't even wrinkled. Not a single hair on his head was out of place. Well, he didn't have any hair, but the point remained. Akaza's confident grin slowly melted into confusion, then disbelief, then absolute terror. This was impossible. His attacks could level cities. They had killed hundreds of demon slayers. This human should be nothing but a memory. "What are you?" Akaza whispered, his voice cracking for the first time in centuries. Saitama scratched his head. "Are you done? Because honestly, I felt more resistance from stubborn pickle jars." The casual dismissal hit Akaza harder than any physical blow ever could. For 200 years, he had been the embodiment of destruction. Demons feared him, humans died just from seeing him, and this bald man was comparing him to kitchen problems. Akaza's survival instincts, honed through centuries of battle, suddenly screamed a word he hadn't heard in his mind since he was human. Run. Every cell in his demonic body was telling him the same thing. This wasn't a fight anymore, this was an execution, and he was standing on the chopping block. But pride, that most human of emotions, kept his feet planted. He was Upper Moon 3. He didn't run from humans. "I don't care what you are," Akaza snarled, pouring every ounce of his demonic energy into one final attack. "I'll keep fighting until one of us dies." Saitama sighed, the sound somehow more intimidating than any battle cry. "You know what? You're actually kind of admirable. Most demons just beg or try to run away. You're willing to keep fighting even when you know you can't win." For a moment, Akaza felt something he hadn't experienced in 2 centuries, respect from a worthy opponent. "But I really do need to get to that market," Saitama continued, raising his right hand with all the enthusiasm of someone about to swat a particularly persistent fly. Serious punch. The words were spoken so casually, so matter-of-factly, that they seemed almost anticlimactic, right up until reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The punch didn't just connect with Akaza, it connected with the fundamental forces that held the demon together. The impact created a shockwave that rewrote the local geography. Mountains didn't just crumble, they ceased to exist. The crater stretched so far that people in neighboring provinces felt the earth shake. When the dust settled 3 minutes later, there was no trace that Upper Moon 3 had ever existed. Not blood, not fragments, not even the residual demonic energy that usually lingered after a demon's death. Just a perfectly circular crater and the confused chirping of birds who had somehow survived the apocalypse. Saitama stood at the epicenter of the destruction, looking at his fist with the same disappointed expression he always wore after these encounters. "I didn't even feel that one. Not even a little bit of resistance." Across Japan, every demon suddenly stopped what they were doing. From the lowest-ranking fodder to Muzan himself, they all felt the same thing. The complete and absolute erasure of Upper Moon 3. Not defeated, not sealed, not even destroyed in any conventional sense. Simply removed from existence as if he had never been born. Lower-ranked demons began fleeing in panic. Some threw themselves into sunlight rather than risk encountering whatever had done this. Others abandoned their human hunting grounds and retreated to the deepest caves they could find. And in his hidden fortress, for the first time in 1,000 years, Muzan Kibutsuji felt something he thought he'd forgotten how to feel. Pure, undiluted, primal terror. That night, Saitama sat alone on a cliff overlooking the village he'd saved. The people below had lit lanterns in celebration, their warm glow creating a festival atmosphere. Children ran through the streets, no longer afraid of the darkness. Parents tucked their little ones into bed without the fear that demons might come in the night. But Saitama felt none of their joy. He watched their happiness like someone looking at a world through glass, able to see it but never truly touch it. He thought back to his training days, when he still had hair and hope in equal measure. Back then, every push-up had a purpose. Every sit-up brought him closer to his dream. Every 10-kilometer run was a step toward becoming the hero he wanted to be. "I wanted to be a hero," he said to the empty air, his voice barely above a whisper. "I wanted to save people. I wanted to feel like I mattered." The wind carried his words away, but the emptiness in his chest remained. He had saved this village. He had eliminated a threat that could have killed hundreds of innocent people. By any measure, he was exactly the hero he'd always dreamed of becoming. So why did it feel so hollow? Saitama looked down at his hands, the same hands that had just erased Upper Moon 3 from existence. With these hands, he could solve any problem, defeat any enemy, protect any innocent. But what good was infinite power if it couldn't fill the infinite void inside him? What is strength if it saves no one from the emptiness it creates? He asked the stars. The universe, as always, had no answer for him. He remembered the look in Akaza's eyes just before the end. Terror, yes, but also something else. Recognition. The demon had understood in those final moments that he was facing something beyond comprehension, something that didn't belong in this world or any world. Maybe that was the real tragedy, not that Saitama was too strong for his enemies, but that he was too strong for his own world, too powerful to find meaning in victory, too invincible to find purpose in protection. The people below were safe because of him. The demons would think twice before attacking innocent humans again. His power had meaning, even if he couldn't feel it, even if every victory felt like losing a piece of himself. But knowing something mattered and feeling it matter were two different things entirely, and Saitama was beginning to understand that some kinds of loneliness couldn't be punched away, no matter how strong you became. He looked up at the night sky, at the countless stars that had witnessed countless heroes across countless worlds. Somewhere out there in some other timeline, maybe there was a version of himself who had found what he was looking for, a version who felt fulfilled by his strength instead of imprisoned by it. A shooting star blazed across the heavens, and Saitama made the same wish he'd made in every timeline, in every world, in every moment of quiet desperation. Not for more power, not for greater strength, not for anything that could be gained through training or fighting or pushing beyond human limits. Just for one fight that would make him feel alive again. One opponent who could make him remember why he'd wanted to be a hero in the first place. One moment where being the strongest wouldn't feel like being the loneliest. The star disappeared into the darkness, taking his wish with it. But for the first time in this timeline, Saitama felt something stirring in the distance. Not hope, exactly, but maybe its distant cousin. Something was coming. Something that might finally give him the fight he'd been searching for across infinite universes. Meanwhile, Muzan worked desperately to create demons powerful enough to challenge this anomaly, but deep down, he knew the truth. Then something impossible happened. The sky itself began to crack, reality bending as another timeline started bleeding through. From the tear in space and time, a figure fell toward the Demon Slayer world, someone who had been searching across infinite universes for one thing. Finally, I can sense it, someone with incredible power. For the first time since arriving in this timeline, Saitama felt something stirring in his chest. Not excitement, but maybe its distant cousin. The multiverse was about to witness something unprecedented, the meeting of two beings who had transcended the limits of their respective worlds. The age of demons was ending, but the age of impossible battles was just beginning. Want to see what happens when unstoppable meets unstoppable? Drop your multiverse ideas in the comments and smash that subscribe button for part 2.